Well, hello, hello. Welcome to Housing First, Low Barrier Practices. I am Dr. Simmons. I'm with Free and One Training Institute, and we're going to talk about a subject that is very, very important and has been very effective in some cases. In some cases, we have challenges with housing first. Let's discuss this. Let's discuss how well we're doing and what we need to do to improve. Because housing first states it right there in this topic that there's a low barrier practices, and that's what we need to do. Our homeless population does not look like it used to look. There's so many different faces of so many different people from so many different classes of people. And all of this has increased the homeless population. And most recently with a saddened heart, I have to mention the fires that occurred in California, Los Angeles area and surrounding areas that created homelessness for so many people, and that they're trying to get their lives back in order. But many of them at the time of this taping are still trying to figure out where they're going to live and how they will live. So we have to understand we still have people on the streets of Los Angeles. We still have people living in their cars. And we're trying to establish a program that creates housing first. And we're trying to implement that where it can be successful so that everybody would have a place to live. Okay? So, housing first low barrier practices. Though the housing first program approach is a proven method that individuals given the opportunity to have supportive services and special needs like mental health, substance abuse, and counseling and job training would improve. But we also found out that housing first made those percentages go up. Because let me tell you how it all started. This young man, Dr. Sam Simbiris, I think that's how you pronounce his name, Simbiris, from New York. What it was, he was working the homeless population, and it was always a challenge that many people was without housing, no matter how many supportive services they received, they still was without housing. So actually, he started working. He got us a grant. I'm going to read some notes that I have here. He got a grant from, I guess, a SAMHSA. He got a grant. I'm not sure where the initial grant came from because my notes doesn't say it. Oh yeah, it was SAMHSA funded, and what he did, he get two groups of people. He had 200 over 200 people. Half of them he put in treatment only first, and the other half he put in housing only first. And he found it to be true that those that had housing first uh, continued to live a more productive life than those that had treatment first. So it was important that he realized that one of the solutions to our our community of having homelessness is that we had to provide housing without a barrier, without any requirement. Housing was important. In 2016, Governor Jerry Brown declared California as a housing first state, putting emphasis on housing first. And the housing first approach is a proven method, as I said, when Dr. Sam Simbrizi did his study, he found out that when he provided housing as a first step, that it created successful outcomes for many of the people. And so, according to the research, the success rate of Housing First programs are considered very high. Up to 90% participated in the program after a year, and 88% continued to be housed after 5 years. And then, after they did this approach, they were able to deal with treatment second. It wasn't as though they didn't support the treatment or the mental health or counseling or job training, it just was not first. So what they're saying is housing first is the one way to make it very successful. And we want a program that's successful for all of our people. Let's talk about the five principles for housing first. So housing first, the first principle is immediate access. In other words, the first step to prove that homelessness, if they have stable housing, then requiring them to go jump through hoops, if they can have immediate access. We don't need a credit check. We don't need a background check. We just need you to have secure and safe housing and off the street. That is one of the first principles. Another principle, but immediate access is the first principle. Individual choice, allowing them to have the choice, giving them back their independence was important. And recovery orientation, meaning many of them that may have substance abuse problems or other problems or mental health problems, you do have an orientation. It is something that's discussed while they're in the housing, because they're in the housing, and that takes a burden off of them to know that they have a place to lay their head, to know that they have a place that they can sleep at night. So immediate housing first, individual choice, allowing them to take the individual choice for the housing and to participate in their recovery is very important. And individualized support, meaning that what works for one won't work for the others. You have to make sure that each person that you're addressing their individual needs. Somebody may need um, individual support like a outpatient program for their drugs. Somebody may need to get their medicine for high blood pressure. Individualized support is when you give that to a person after giving them immediate access to housing, then you will have a better success rate. The last principle I want to discuss is social and community integration. A lot of people, what Dr. Sam said in his notes in the interview that he said, if you've been living on the street for 5+ years, you're a very smart person. You know how to maneuver, and you have very little money. You know how to maneuver through a tough time. And so those people may have, this population are equipped. They know how to think about surviving a bad situation. So we can't take them for granted that they're, don't have the skills. They have the skills because they have enough skills to live on the street and to still be alive maybe after 5 years or 3 years, whatever time they've been on the street. One day on the street for me is just one too many. So we have to understand that we want to help them to get integrated back in the community. They may need a driver's license. They may need their ID. They may need something to help integrate them back into the community. So Dr. Sam believes with housing first principles, if you give them immediate access to a stable housing, which is a critical first step, then the rest of it will come. The rest of it will come because they'll be stabilized. So those 5 principles, as I discussed, is immediate access, individual choice, recovery orientation, individual support, social and community integration. And anybody that you're working with, if you're working with them in a homeless population, please institute housing first, low barrier to get into housing. Don't make it hard for them. Make it extremely easy for them. Just all you need to know is who they are, and if they don't mind participating in the house rules, whatever your house rules are. Maybe no smoking inside, and you only smoke on the patio. Whatever those house rules, you want to give them immediate access to housing. And how to be successful: meet them where they are. Don't try to put them in a cookie cutter box to say they cannot do what you're accustomed to doing or what somebody else is doing maybe in the next room. Just meet them where they are. Understand what their needs are and let them know that you're there to give them housing. Meet them where they are and they'll be successful, and have no prerequisite. Have none. Just, you don't need a first and last. You don't need anything. You just need a warm place to sleep. And as I taped this video today, it's raining out, and I really, my heart sympathizes to those that have to live under a bridge or live under a tent during the rain or any bad season. So you want to meet them where they are and no prerequisite. And we have to understand that our homeless population continues to grow. It continues to grow, and we have to find a way to meet them where they are. We have to find a way to help them come in from the cold, because it's proven document that housing first will help us to help them. And so we want to provide housing to them. And focus on social and community integration. When you do that, when you focus on that, then you know that they become more integrated, then they feel more empowered. They feel more empowered if one of their goals is to just get their identification so that they can get a job. They will feel empowered if they focus on the social and community integration. And a lot of times when they've lived on the street a long time, they're not connected with a social or community. And everybody needs a community. And when you have that, it supports you. So I'm Dr. Yolonda Simmons, and I just want to thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us today and being part of our presentation on housing first. And continue to look at those 5 principles for housing first. And remember that whatever happens, God uses ordinary people to do extraordinary things. And you may be that one to do that extraordinary thing. So continue to service people. In your ability to service others, you're serving yourself and your community. Thank you for letting me share. Thank you for letting me be of service. Have a great and wonderful day. Until next time.